And we're on. So the UX Writing Hub recently did a survey of what are people who do content writing, what is their title? Is it UX writer, technical writer, content strategist? And I believe you've all found 123 different titles. So whether you're a content strategist, tech writer, UX writer, we don't care what you're called. Yuval Keshtcher from the UX Writing Hub is going to talk about creating amazing customer journeys using UX writing. Yuval, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jack. So 1 second, I'm going to set up my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yep, it's good.
Perfect. So before we start, I would love to ask you right here in the chat. First of all, I'm extremely excited, so I would just put it there. And I would like to ask you, what is your title? So just write in the chat, what are your titles? And let's check out the reign of titles over here. So we have VP Marketing, Tech Writers, VP Customer Experience, Technical Writer, UX UI Product Designer. Amazing. So many different titles. And that's exactly what Jack was talking about. So many different titles for people that are in charge of being writers in tech. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about UX writing, about few tips and a case study that related to UX writing, and I start with a small story. So this is a story of Alexander Kearns. So Alexander Kearns was a child, 20 years old, and just like any regular 20 years old, playing the trombone, going to college, and doing some gaming in his free time, and doing some trading in a trading app that he downloaded. The name of the app was Robin Hood app, Robin, and the idea of this app is that it makes it it's extremely easy to people to just trade, even if you're 20 years old, if you don't know anything about stocks and stuff like that. I'm 30 years old and I don't know anything about stocks exchange. So the idea is to make the user experience extremely easy with that platform. And one day, Alexander opened his app and he saw the next text: buying power minus $730,165. And he was in shock. And basically, that's how it looked like, buying power minus 730. And he was in shock. He was in a complete shock. He didn't know what to do with himself. And he wrote a letter. In that letter, he wrote, I only thought that I was risking the money that I actually owned. So he actually thought he's in debt. And that day, Alexander decided to put to end his life, and just because he saw in an app that he is in a debt. And the thing about this story, and I know it's not a fun story, but the thing about it is that Alex just, all right. Is that okay, Jack? Okay.
You're good.
Perfect. So Alex just misunderstood the Robinhood financial statement. And the thing is that the temporary negative display is not a balance of debt. And the thing I want to talk about today is the fact that the copy that we write on user interface can impact lives of people. I know it's a bit dramatic. We can talk about different stories about copies of UI in different stories, but today we're going to talk about different tips about how to create stellar customer journeys and how to make sure that we're doing it right. And so nice to meet you. My name is Yuval, Keshtcher, the CEO of the founder of the UX Writing Hub. I had a lot of different titles as well in my evolution, in my career evolution. Lab student, sales rep, bartender, graphic designer, UX designer, content strategist, writer. And I was supposed to be in Thailand right now working from the beach, but I'm here in Israel because of COVID-19. So greetings from Israel. And I know that most of you are in USA right now, so good morning. Right now it's evening for us. And that's about it. The UX Writing Hub, by the way, is a platform for UX writers, and I wouldn't talk about that too much. I'm going to talk about the case study that we had. All right, so today we're going to talk about the basics of UX writing research, simple writing tips for everyone, even if you're not familiar with UX writing almost at all. And that's about it. I would love it if you will write right now in the chat if you had experience writing copy for user interface and with UX writing in general. Write yes if you have experience with UX writing, or no if you don't have experience with UX writing. Perfect, perfect. I see a lot of yes, yes, no, 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 yes, 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 no, no, no. Perfect. No with some. Perfect. All right, so let's start. So during one of our Academy UX Writing courses, we were working with a client, and the name of the client was AbleFinder. AbleFinder is an app that is connecting parents raising children with disabilities. So just imagine Tinder, but matching parents. Exactly the same mechanism, swipe, 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 and matching with people on a similar journey. And we had a lot of challenges working with these people. And my tips for you, for what we learned as an organization working with these people as part of our course. Okay, so first of all, when you do UX writing, I'm sorry about the disturbing metaphor, but this is exactly how the mechanism working in the AbleFinder app. Always, always, always start with the research. So 90% of the work of writing a user interface is with the research. And there's three main tips that I would like to focus on today. The first one is a competitor analysis. The second one is conversation mining. And the third one is just talking to people. So competitor analysis, for example, in the AbleFinder project, we were checking out notifications. So we were writing the notifications of the platform, and we just analyzed competition and how other people writing their notifications. We used Crunchbase and LinkedIn to check out the status of those competitors. How many people working in those organizations, who work in that organizations, what roles they have, if they have UX writers, so we know that they invested a lot in writing their notifications as well. And then we understood maybe we should focus on analyzing their notifications as well. Another tip is to use Webalizer, which is a Chrome extension. I'm not going to focus on that much today, and organize your data using a spreadsheet or Airtable. So I recommend to use Airtable. It's a really fantastic tool to organize all of your data. I recommend you to take a screenshot right now and use this template to do competitor analysis, name of company, overview, how much it's relevant for your organization from direct to indirect, and then just map out all of the different notifications that you can see and analyze how they talk to their users and how the competitors work and how it's going. The next trick that I would like to focus on is conversation mining. So conversation mining is basically a tip that, if you need to simplify it, it's about finding where your users are online and where they create discussions, like Facebook groups, Reddit channels, review sections. For example, if you work right now on a developer's platform at MasterCard, for example, and you want to know how to write for developers with the API and some, technical language, but still be somehow conversational. So maybe you can go to Stack Overflow and see how they write about those topics to each other, and then analyze their conversations, their tone, their fears, needs, pains, goals, motivations through those online conversations, and organize the data, use Airtable, spreadsheet, and that's about that. This is how the Airtable spreadsheet that we use to do conversation mining look like. I recommend you to take a screenshot and hopefully use it based on source, the tone, the actual content, highlights, and then you can actually use copy that your users are familiar with in your own interface, and it can save you a lot of writing time, a lot of efforts, and it might be extremely conversational to your end users. So that's about conversation mining. And the last thing is talking to people. So in UX, many people call it user interviews, but it's not only about that. You can talk to your users, you can talk to your customer support. Jen from Netflix has a fantastic article about talking to your customer support and understand what are your users' pains and how to address them. Talk to your team, ask them for their opinion and thoughts about your copy. And of course, they're not presenting the end user motivation, but maybe they can have extremely interesting point of view, and also create a research finding report and present it to your team as well. So that's about the research finding report. And for our last 8 minutes, I'm going to give you a few more tips for everyone. So this is still common, but people still use lorem ipsum. I'm a product designer. I can still see designers use lorem ipsum. So please don't, and instead use maybe you did competitor analysis, so maybe you can use some of your competitors' copy just as placeholders, or protocopy, or maybe write what's supposed to be there and then refine and rewrite it, but please don't write lorem ipsum. This is an example of Dropbox homepage with only lorem ipsum. It's not clear, and you can create discussions around that. And probably you've heard that you need to kill lorem ipsum, but I will say it again because it's still not dead. Always add rationale when you write about copy. You can add a copy doc, like Andrea Draghi have in our articles about copy docs. So create some kind of a copy doc with rationale about why you did that type of writing, what is the thought process behind it, on what data it's based. Maybe it's data from the Google Analytics that you found some kind of a bottleneck in the funnel, or maybe you wanted to increase the CTA, or maybe you just learned something from your research based on your competitor analysis or based on your conversation mining. So just add that rationale from your research, and that will give you confidence to present it to your team. And always based your writing on data, and then it will be much easier to convince how useful it is. The last thing, so that's about what we did with Able Finder. The team wrote based on the research findings that we have different types of users. We have the passive members, and we have the non-active members, and it was all based on data. We had the shy members if they had less than 10 swipes, and so on. And we did all of our writings based on data, and all of the notifications based on the research findings. And that's about the notification. And the last tip would be start with the main point and make it short. It's called microcopy for a reason. So there is a reason. We need to keep it concise. We need to keep it useful. You probably heard it before. And make it as concise as you can. And of course, as clear as you can. And that's a few of the screens that we created with a team of Able Finder for the different scenarios of the app. Everything was short and sweet in the user flow. From the funnel of uploading a picture until we had also the notifications, or something we call the icebreakers, which help people to communicate a little bit better. And that's about it. So just as a small gift for you today, I curated a list of all of my favorite UX writing books. So I recommend you to check it out. All of my favorite UX writing books, in case you want to understand more about practicing in this field, and check that list as well. And that's about it. feel free to reach out to me via email, LinkedIn, or anything like that. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Yes, I know. I really want to go to Thailand. I was in Thailand, by the way, but I came back.
So I want to jump in here and agree with something you just said and add to it, where get rid of Loro Ipsum, because that also doesn't take into account if you're translating the text into multiple languages, because something that may take one line in English may take 3 lines in German. So remember to leave additional space for translation. Now, for people who are interested in moving into UX, I do believe you offer a UX class. Do you not, Yuval?
Yes, so basically we offer UX writing class. We call it the UX Writing Academy. The Able Finder case studies are student work, basically. So when, as part of the class, people work with real, sometimes it's nonprofits, sometimes it's for-profit companies. Yeah, that's the only, basically the only education for UX writers where you get real experience during the course. And we start in the 17th of November. I already noticed a few of our alumni here in the chat already, so that's fun. That's about it. Feel free to join. I can send the link in the chat if you're interested.
Yes, please. And we also videotape this session, so afterwards people can just watch the video and freeze on that frame and find you. So thank you again. And you're transmitting from Israel, I do believe.
Yes, it's Israel. It's evening right now, and I'm very excited, as I said before, to be here from the other side of the world. It's fantastic to be here. I was waiting for this event for more than 7-8 months.
Wow. So for those of you who didn't hear my opening presentation, we have 400 attendees spanning 11 time zones participating. So wherever you happen to be, if you didn't catch one of these sessions, they are recorded and you can go back and watch them again at your leisure. Again, Yuval, thank you again. Have a good night and we will see you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Ciao.